Hey friends, Bill here. I want to talk about the second step in fundraising, which is really, what do you say? We talked about in the first one. Hopefully, I can identify these in some order. But your audience. Who's your audience? Who you're trying to reach with the gospel? And the second thing is, you know, what do you say to people to get them to what's your intro? And I mentioned, I think, a little bit. Would you partner with me to reach this audience with the gospel? Would you partner with me to reach the audience with the gospel? That's what you want to say. Help me reach this audience. Help me reach this audience. Help me reach this audience. Now, a lot of times, ministry is everybody gets a calling. In a sense, you have a divine inspiration to get out and do this kind of work. Let's just say you're a pastor. Let's not talk about ourselves for a second, but guy gets a calling to pastoral work. And then he ultimately either, let's say he has a real, interest in a being in the city. Let's just say something I know, Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. All right. His audience are the folks, let's just say his church is down there by the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's his audience. That's his neighborhood. And so he asks people to partner with him, to give to him, to donate to his ministry, which is to reach this community of people down by the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not only with the gospel, but to bring them into a discipleship relationship. Let's just say that's what's really going on at the heart of a church, is that discipleship. The discipleship includes fellowship with each other, fellowship with the pastor, and all that comes with that. We all know that from our time in the church. But anyone who donates to this guy, and I actually know a gentleman who, when I was down in Atlanta, he had a church close to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We met one time and talked about it. But so I've got some guy in mind. So his ministry's to that neighborhood, and if you give to him, you're giving so he can minister to those people in that neighborhood. So his calling led him down there, but ultimately his calling led him to reach a group of people. And when you donate to him, you're really reaching that people with the gospel and bringing them into this discipleship relationship, which we call the church. I saw where he did it. I know where it's at. I used to drive through that neighborhood. Coming back, they had this building right there. It's really by the MARTA station. There on the other side of, let's see if I can remember what it's called. Phillips Arena was the main MARTA station. If you went to the next stop, that's this neighborhood is right by that next MARTA stop. And someone had built this building, used to drive by and sort of, I just wish that I thought it was a great place to set up a ministry headquarters, which I never did. So anyway, I drove by that place a lot. I saw the building where he was at. So so in other words, I've got this in mind. It's not just a hypothetical idea. And so anyway, this particular pastor would be reaching that community. I talked to him about it, how he did it, how he did it, and so forth. But you're giving to him to bring that community into a church setting for discipleship. So there's a couple of points here. One, the calling led him down there. The calling led him to get trained. However he went trained, I kind of think I remember where he went to seminary. And even that took him to people. His calling was not a standalone calling. In other words, you didn't give to him because he was called a pastor. He had to actually go do it. Now, sometimes we think of it that way. Just, I've been called to preach the gospel in the open air, so give me money. Partner with me because I've been called. Well, who are you called to reach? Because the calling is not just so you can be called to something. You see, I know it's a really obvious thing. Hopefully that's obvious to say. Our calling leads us to an audience. Our calling leads us to a group of people. Your pastor got called. Your calling led you to this neighborhood down by the MARTA station. Your calling led you to be hired by the largest Presbyterian church in New York City. Or your calling led you to take on a mission work in Ghana, Africa. Or your calling led you to take on a church in Seoul, South Korea. Whatever it is, but your fundraising is so you can get to that place where you're going. And so that's the simple idea. I've got an audience. It's going to cost me this much money to get to them on a consistent basis. So if you're back to the church analogy, a church has obviously got a steady place to meet, and and so he can probably identify the cost a little more consistently. Hey, and so when he met with people, he'd say, "Hey, here's who I'm reaching. Here's the process. Here's my budget. Would you donate to this budget so these people can be discipled? Would you give? Would you partner with me so these people can be discipled?" And it's that simple. It's really, to me, it's that simple. When you take the religion out of our discussion, our thinking, and you just focus on the work, the audience and the work, pastoral work, discipleship. And of course, in that process for him, he's going to get in pastoral situations, marrying, bearing, marriage, children, and in the process of discipleship. So it's not just he's only there to bring them into a classroom setting and disciple them. There's just more going on, just like any pastor. So if you either like him or you're for him, or you like the audience, or think they need to be discipled. Either way, you're going to give so this all can take place. Now, there's the element, that people, support a person, but it's really whatever that person is doing, not just because they're a neat person. That idea that somehow people think you're neat and they're just going to give you, their money from their salary because you're a neat person or you got a calling and you're proficient in memorizing the Bible. I'm sure that happens somewhere, but that's really not reality. That's really not what we're talking about. Someone who's like, who's a good example of this? I think in the general world, you have this kind of guy like a David Platt. He got a church. He worked for NAM. He took on McLean Bible Church. You either like this guy or you don't. But if you like him, you're gonna progress along as he takes on the next work. And so either way, you're supporting him in his work. If he quit preaching and pastoring, you're probably not going to donate to David Platt. You see what I'm saying? It's pretty simple stuff. So with us and our work, you begin to combine the two, okay? And I think what's really important is you would never perceive yourself to be such a neat person that people just give to you wherever you go. Like, in other words, develop a mindset, a strategy to communicate. You're always reaching people. You're always reaching people. So if I'm preaching at ball games, UT games, and Super Bowl, Final Four, St. Pete Grand Prix, man, I want to talk about the people that I'm reaching. I want people to know we're reaching 100,000 people at UT Knoxville. I want them to know we're reaching 300,000 people at the PGA tournament on Saturday in Phoenix, Arizona, because Matthew Redondo's team is out there at the best spot because of all the work we've done for 5 months. That's what I'm talking about. And now, if I go to the campus of UT, it's the same thing. Now, that's a little more me just taking advantage of some time, being an evangelist myself and reaching out. But nevertheless, I'm talking about going to UT. I'm not talking about, hey, Bill's a neat guy. Just give him some money so Bill can do what he wants to do. So just you formulate the way that you communicate, how you think about it. I'm reaching fans. I'm reaching college students. I might be reaching UTC college students, whatever it might be. That's the way to get your thinking right. So you articulate that well when you sit down with a potential ministry partner, donor, contributor. To me, it doesn't really matter. The language partnership really does bring to bear that you are working together here, that you can't do what you believe you're called to do. If that person doesn't give, they're partners in the ministry with you. You call them what you want. At the end of the day, they're partners in this ministry work. That's why I think it's so valuable to dress them that way. They're storing up treasure in heaven, all that kind of stuff. And so call it what you want, but treat them like a partner. So I think that's pretty straightforward, hopefully. If you got any questions, let me know. So in summary, so we can keep this below 10 minutes, man, this time goes so fast. One, you've got an audience. Two, you have got a work in that audience. You're asking people to donate, give, contribute, so you can do that work, so you can reach those people evangelistically or as a pastor or whatever it might be. Don't think about give to me because I'm called. Your calling leads to a group of people. Your calling leads to a particular work amongst a group of people. Next time, we're going to talk about schedule, and then we're going to talk about the budget, how to break that down. Right now, that's it. See you.